This story is different because in it, we see the strongest swordsman in the world being given the mission to eliminate a girl, but instead of doing so, he ends up falling in love with her and decides to become her teacher. The main character in this story is called Kufa. As I said, he is a master swordsman who lives in a dark and destroyed world, where almost the entire Earth has been taken over by monsters called Lankan. The last human city is a large structure protected by resistant glass, similar to a dome, divided into several sectors. A few people in this world have a supernatural ability called mana, which allows them to face these monsters as members of guilds. Kufa is part of the guild called the White Knights, which is known for accepting dirty jobs. On one of his missions, Kufa is surrounded by assassins from another guild. They shoot at him, but Kufa is faster than everyone and cuts each bullet in mid-air, eliminating the enemies immediately. Only the leader of the group survives. But the fight is interrupted when a veteran appears, and the leader then takes advantage of this to distract Kufa and escape. The veteran warns Kufa that there is no point in going after her, because the target of the mission is already dead. This mission involved a girl named Melita Angel, a member of the powerful Angel family, one of the 3 noblest families in the world. Her grandfather hired Kufa to find out if Melita was really his granddaughter, or if her mother had had an affair with another man. And well, since there are no DNA tests in this world, Kufa should then interrogate the possible father. But now the old man instructs him to infiltrate Melita's life and find out the truth. Kufa then takes a train that takes him to a more noble part of the city. Upon arriving, he helps an excited woman carry her belongings before heading to his destination, an elite school for noble girls. There, he meets Melita Angel, who is excited to meet her new tutor. She stumbles upon seeing him and Kufa catches her, accumulating a moment of risk. He introduces himself as her personal tutor for the next 3 years. When the school bell rings, Melita heads to class, displeased to learn that Kufa will also accompany her as her bodyguard. The school is full of skinny girls training in combat skills. A girl named Nerva taunts Melita, saying that she is useless, has no mana, and does not need a tutor, but rather to be born again. Melita is annoyed, but accepts Nerva's invitation to practice. Meanwhile, Kufa explains that mana is an ability that appears around the age of 7 and grants special powers to people who receive the title of noble. Melita, at 13, has not yet awakened her mana, which is strange for a descendant of the Angel family. Even without mana, Melita shows courage by facing Nerva with good sword techniques. However, due to her lack of magical power, she ends up defeated. Nerva humiliates her and compares her to her cousin Elise Angel, who has already awakened the paladin class and has a tutor from a renowned guild. Melita feels hurt and runs away, followed by her cousin Eli. That night, Kufa writes in his report that Melita is not the biological daughter of the Angel family. This activates his secret mission, where he is supposed to eliminate her on the orders of her grandfather. Even so, Kufa feels that she does not deserve to suffer anymore, as he was touched by her dedication. When he goes to her room to complete the mission, Melita is not there. He goes out into the city and finds her in a park, fighting 3 Lankan dressed as Halloween clowns. Kufa understands that her grandfather placed the monsters there to try to force her mana to awaken through danger, but this clearly does not work. Melita fights bravely, but her sword breaks and the monsters surround her and humiliate her. She only screams when they try to cut her blonde hair, which reminds her of her mother, a woman rejected by her family who ended up running away. Melita wants to be recognized as part of the Angel family, and if she asks for help, she feels she will never be accepted. Kufa considers this cruel and can no longer bear to watch. He easily eliminates 2 monsters and destroys the third with his special technique called Ghost Blade. He reaches out to Melita, but she stands up on her own. Proud, Kufa is moved by the girl's loneliness and decides to help her. He offers a risky way to awaken the mana. If it goes wrong, she will die. Melita accepts without hesitation. Kufa drinks a potion and passes the contents to her directly, using his mouth. Melita feels as if she is drowning and being torn apart from the inside, but she sees a light and reaches for it. She manages to awaken her mana. Then, she shows her new magical form to the maids, while Kufa watches from afar. Worried, what he did goes against the guild's rules. So now he needs to hide the truth from the girl and also from his superiors, because if they find out, they will both be in danger. Later, Kyufa examines Melita's body to make sure the potion did not cause any damage. Melita is bothered, but Kyufa says it is important to ensure her safety. He explains that she did not awaken the paladin class, but rather the samurai class, just like his, since he shared his mana with her. Even so, she can prove her worth with effort and dedication. Kyufa also warns her that she must not use mana for a week, only in training, which leaves her frustrated. The following week, there will be a tournament at the academy. Nerva is the class's favorite and takes the opportunity to tease Melita, taking her book and treating her sarcastically. Kyufa hears the other girls' comments and feels sad for Melita. Later, she confides in Kyufa, saying that she continues to be the butt of jokes. He replies that she still needs to evolve and prepare in silence for her debut in the tournament. Suddenly, they realize that they are being followed. The stalkers are Eli, Melita's cousin, and Roasty Prickett, a pink-haired girl Kyufa met on the train. Roasty introduces herself as Eli's tutor. Melita is surprised, as Roasty is famous for having come from a simple family and having been recognized as a noblewoman by joining the Crest Legion Guild. Roasty asks Kyufa to call her Rose and suggests that they go out for a drink. Kyufa coldly refuses, saying that she is a bad influence. Roasty gets angry and promises that her student will beat Melita in the tournament. The day of the tournament arrives. Melita is nervous and considers giving up, but Kyufa tries to encourage her. A carriage passes by and she sees her father, but does not have the courage to approach him. When Nerva and her friends show up and mock her again, saying that the team that chose her is doomed to failure, Kyufa steps in. He responds firmly, saying that he would rather remain silent than listen to any more provocations. Nerva gets angry and starts insulting him. Melita gathers her courage, pushes Nerva's hand away and defends her tutor, promising that she will defeat her in the tournament. Meanwhile, Melita's father, Felvis, and grandfather Mordru watch the tournament from the stands. Mordru watches Kyufa carefully, knowing that the time has come to evaluate his teacher's performance. Inside the arena, Melita's teammates tell her that she can leave the fight to them, but she asks to participate. Shortly after, the school principal announces the start of the battle, and the girls from both teams activate their mana and run towards each other. Melita takes a deep breath and charges at Nerva, but without activating her mana. Nerva runs towards her too, believing that she will destroy her in front of everyone. She activates her mana in the jump and tries to attack, but Melita activates her own mana at the last moment and counterattacks, forcing Nerva to retreat. Everyone, including Nerva, is shocked to see that Melita can use mana. Nerva is furious and says that nothing changes just because Melita now has mana. She attacks again, and Melita pretends to use her sword, but lands a kick. Nerva loses control and Melita takes the opportunity to throw sand in her eyes and throw her against the wall. Nerva then removes her limiter and uses all her strength, jumping high and descending like a meteor, breaking part of the arena with the impact. When the dust settles, Melita is sitting in silence, and Nerva thinks she has won. She approaches and says that she will spare her from further humiliation if Melita surrenders now, since they are friends. When Melita does not respond, Nerva prepares for the final blow, but Melita points her sword at her neck and says that Kyufa's attacks are much more frightening. The two release their mana again. A strong wind takes over the field, and even injured Melita pushes Nerva against the wall. However, just as she is about to win, Melita runs out of mana and loses her sword. Kyufa panics, and Melita tries to flee. Nerva seizes the opportunity and attacks Melita from behind several times, cursing her as she falls to the ground. Nerva demands that Melita surrender, but Melita refuses. Nerva, already beside herself, begins to cry in anger. She believes that teasing Melita is a form of friendship and cannot bear to see her getting stronger. Nerva swears that she will leave Melita confined to a wheelchair, but Melita still has a hidden card. She awakens her mana once more and uses the Phantom Blade technique, throwing Nerva away. Kyufa is shocked to realize that Melita learned this move by observing and practicing in secret. Melita borrows Nerva's weapon and rushes to destroy the opposing team's control point. Nerva's teammates try to stop her, but Melita's team appears and protects her. She destroys the control point and secures the team's victory. After the fight, Melita runs to Kufa, expecting him to give her a pat on the back for her performance. But he picks her up and tells her that she did even better than he expected. At that moment, Melita's father walks past her without even looking. Melita calls out to him, saying that she won the battle. He replies that it was just a school tournament and that if he wants to prove something, he needs to stand out in the inter-school championship. Melita starts to cry because of her father's coldness, but Kufa asks her to see the bright side. She had the courage to talk to her father, and even though it didn't get the results she wanted, she got an answer. Kufa says that this is already a big step. Melita believes him. Soon after, Nerva comes running up. Melita is startled, but Nerva just gives her back her book. She apologizes shyly and leaves. Shortly after, Melita participates in another match. This time, the rival team is led by Eli, who wins alone using her paladin class, surprising everyone. A few days later, Melita shows Kufa her dress for the school carnival. Kufa reacts indifferently and says that he doesn't like festivals because he grew up in a dark place where such celebrations didn't exist. Melita feels sorry for him and asks him to dance with her around the bonfire on the first day of the festival. Kufa says that he will have a mission that day, but promises to return on the last day to fulfill his promise. The festival begins and all the girls wear their uniforms. Eli attracts attention because her maid had a special uniform made, which has generated criticism. Some people think she looks beautiful. Others say she thinks too much of herself for not wearing the uniform like everyone else. Eli feels bad and runs away. Melita runs after her and finds her crying at the fountain, saying that she wanted to wear the same clothes as her friends, but her maid wouldn't let her. Melita tries to comfort her, but the lights suddenly go out and hooded men appear, led by the mummy. Melita and Eli are kidnapped and Melita wakes up in a strange place. When she tries to activate the mana, she realizes that the bands attached to her wrists are sealing her powers. She turns to the mummy and realizes that he is a Lankan. She asks what he is doing in the human zone. The enemy starts talking too much, saying that he is an artificial Lankanthrope created by genetic modification, and that he works for an organization called Yield Grimphus. Melita asks why she was kidnapped, and the mummy orders Eli to be brought. The plan is to forcibly transplant Eli's paladin class into Melita's body. The chance of success is low, and even if it works, both of their lives are at risk. Melita becomes desperate and realizes that they are in an isolated museum, surrounded by the enemy guild. Eli wakes up and starts screaming when she sees the monsters, since she has had a phobia of clowns and scarecrows since she was a child. Melita has always protected her younger sister, and realizes that she needs to do it again. She breaks a dinosaur leg with a hammer, making it fall on the monsters, and escapes with Eli. They find the building's blueprints and decide to use the emergency exit. Melita keeps Eli calm and, without mana or divine weapons, looks for another solution. She remembers that Eli's dress was made of sacred fabric, so she tears it and turns it into torches. She intends to light them using her Tyra's flintstone. Before she can, the monsters reach them and hit Melita. Eli is captured. To save her, Melita smashes Tyra on the ground, releasing fire from the jewel and lighting the torch. With the improvised sacred torch, she drives away the monsters, burning one of them and piercing the eye of the other. After freeing Eli, she runs for the exit, but finds the mummy waiting. Melita attacks, but he is stronger. He grabs the torch with his bare hands and puts out the fire. He then strikes Melita and Eli. Even so, Melita tries to rekindle the fire, but the mummy approaches. Just as he is about to attack her, Melita and Eli face him, and the strength emanating from them puts him on alert. He realizes that they are a real threat and decides to kill them right there. Just as he is about to attack Melita, the door explodes. Kufa and Rose appear to save them. They protect the girls and advance against the enemies. Kufa cuts through the monsters with his sword, while Rose, agile and confident, uses acrobatics and mana wings to defeat the others. With the enemies defeated, Kufa asks Rose to take care of the girls while he hunts down the real culprit. Kufa finds the mummy, who says that the job of killing Melita was passed on to his guild after Kufa failed. Kufa understands that the mastermind was Melita's grandfather. The mummy injects a liquid into a strange-looking sphere, causing a giant monster covered in purple flames to appear. He says that it is an artificial lycanthrope with maximum attributes. The monster attacks and Kufa dodges it, but is attacked by the mummy's bandages. Kufa defends himself, overcomes the enemy's speed, and knocks him down. However, when he is distracted, the mummy binds him with the bandages and seals his mana. Kufa, with no choice, cuts off his own hand to continue fighting. The mummy is surprised, but asks if the girl is worth all this. Kufa replies that, in a few years, Melita will be a powerful woman, stronger than him, and that he will protect her until then. The enemy orders the monster to finish the job. The creature swallows Kufa, but immediately afterwards a shockwave fills the place. Kufa emerges from the monster and destroys it with his true strength. With white hair and a fiery blue aura, Kufa shows his true power. He puts his hand back on and reveals his identity. He is a half-vampire, one of the most powerful among the Lankans. The mummy panics. Kufa pins him against the wall and claims that Melita has powers similar to those of a paladin, which proves that she is the legitimate daughter of the angel family. Finally, he orders the mummy to take a message to the contractor. If he touches Melita again, there will be no second chance. With that, Kufa leaves the mummy lying on the ground and returns to Melita's side. He tells her that it was her father who sent the information about the kidnapping, allowing him to arrive in time. Melita is thrilled to hear this, and Kufa takes the opportunity to ask her to dance, as he had promised. Melita happily offers her hand and then asks how long he will be her tutor, because she wants him to stay by her side until she turns 18. Kufa kneels before her, promises to stay by her side as long as she needs him, and then the two begin to dance. Soon the classes start again, and Ele approaches Melita since they are now together again. The tutors follow behind, and Rose also tries to approach Kufa, who politely steps aside. He reminds her that they are rivals and that the clients would not be happy to see them so close, especially Eli's housekeeper, who watches them suspiciously. They all head to the glass castle, where a competition between schools will be held. During the assembly, Melita asks to be on Ele's team, but Ele hesitates. Before she can answer, the principal announces the start of the Luna selection tournament, where the two best students from the sister schools will compete for the title of Moon Maiden. Meanwhile, the other students will continue with their classes, and the 4 candidates will have time to practice until the real test at the end of the week. When the candidates are announced, the names of Melita and Ele appear on the glass monument, surprising everyone. Even so, the principal confirms the names, and the girls, overcoming their shock, stand in front of everyone. The principal asks the candidates to choose their teams. Melita sees the cold faces around her and loses hope, but Merva volunteers, followed by Krista, a third-year student who was supposed to be the real candidate. With the teams formed, the principal declares the tournament to begin and seals off the campus with a magical barrier. Later, rumors spread that Melita used some trick to get her name on the monument. She cries and tries to explain herself to Kufa, who hugs her and promises that even if the world turns against her, he will continue to believe in her. Well, it seems that the main character is a real attacker, and if you've watched the video up to this point, comment on some random phrase about an attacker so we can prove to YouTube that you're not a robot. It'll be funny to see people entering the video and seeing a bunch of comments about an attacker without understanding anything. Anyway, after that, Melita and her teammates start training with Kufa's help. During a break, she thinks about how much stronger Illy seems. A student from B school shows up and says she has heard about the Angel Sisters. She encourages Melita to defeat Eli and prove herself worthy of the family's main line. After that, the girl disappears with the wind, and Kufa arrives next. He suspects a conspiracy and catches Eli's housekeeper acting suspiciously on campus at night. When Kufa confronts her, she tries to hide something in her dress. Kufa notices and exposes her in front of Melita and the others, saying that she was the one who put the girls' names on the monument. The housekeeper, pressured, confesses that she did it to pit the sisters against each other and prove that Eli was superior. Melita responds firmly and says that she will show that she is not inferior to Eli. Later, Kyufa finds a black origami on the ground, a symbol that he has received a message from the White Knights Guild. He goes to the forest and meets Black Minia, one of the most powerful members of the guild, who communicates only through disposable letters. She says that the guild leader wants to know what he is hiding about Melita and threatens to kill her if he finds out anything. Kyufa reacts by attacking her, saying that he will not allow anyone to harm his student. They fight, and Minia uses offensive words to try to distract him. However, Rose appears and joins the fight. She heard the noise and decided to help. Rose throws her disc at Minia, who blocks it and responds with shots. The shots miss their target, but she then pulls out a third weapon. Rose is surprised by the amount of hidden resources, but Minia declares that she will finish them both off. Before she can, a crowd approaches and, as Minia is extremely reserved, she disappears, leaving a warning to Kyufa that she will always be on the lookout. Rose asks who that girl was, and Kyufa replies that she is the most dangerous clown in the guild, capable of imitating the 7 basic mana classes. Meanwhile, Ile visits Melita and says that she plans to lose the fight on purpose so that everyone will recognize her. Ile claims that he does not care about the means, but wants to continue by his sister's side, even though he believes that Melita is not on the same level. But despite the intention, Melita is emotionally hurt by these words. Kyufa and Rose inform the director about the danger posed by Black Minia and suggests suspending the tournament. The principal replies that she won't do it, as the challenge is part of the candidate's journey. The next day, Rose sees Ile drinking coffee alone and asks if there was a misunderstanding. Ile denies it, but her housekeeper insists that Melita is inferior. Meanwhile, Melita is supported by Nerva, who sits next to her, saying that it was only because the place was empty. Krista also joins the group and livens up the atmosphere. The days pass between studying, training, and strengthening bonds. On the eve of the trial, Kyufa enters Melita's room with a glass of milk to give her energy. Melita thanks her and comments that the professor's milk is very tasty. Kyufa then asks about Eli, and Melita reveals that her sister wants to lose on purpose. She says that Eli has always admired her, but now she feels that perhaps she has been a bad example. Kyufa advises her to talk to her sister and express her feelings. The next day, the test begins. The principal explains that it will be a battle royale style battle, where each team must capture the opponent's emblems. The entire campus will serve as a battlefield, and spectators will be given magical binoculars to watch. The 4 teams take up positions, and Kyufa bids farewell to Melita, as he intends to use this opportunity to deal with Minia. Melita and her team advance and face the Glass Guardians, who only let them pass after displaying their mana. They enter the main hall, where one of Eli's team members fires a warning shot. Another enemy attacks from behind, but Nerva defends the group. Ile appears, and Krista and Merva ask Melita to go after her while they hold off the other opponents. Melita follows Ile to the central hall. The two activate their mana, gold and silver, and begin the fight. Melita asks Ile to reveal her true feelings. Ile pushes Melita and says that she has always avoided her because she did not want to find out how weak her sister was. She attacks Melita, who dodges, and Eli declares that she is fine with being the secondary, as she has always wanted to be below her sister. Melita feels relieved to hear this. When Eli tries to end the fight, Melita blocks it and claims that she will completely dominate her in battle. The two prepare for their final blows. Eli claims that Melita would not win even in 100 years, but Melita cuts her sword and asks her to repeat it. Eli trembles, and Melita defeats her, saying that she will be the stronger sister, no matter what the cost. She begins to cry and asks Eli to trust her. The two reconcile, but Nerva appears and says that it would be a shame if someone ruined this moment. Meanwhile, Kyufa finds the girl who had visited Melita and suspects that she is Minia in disguise. He demands the bag with the evidence she collected. When she refuses, Kyufa cuts the bag and pins her against the wall. The girl reacts unexpectedly, insinuating that she likes to be dominated. Kyufa ignores the provocation and attacks her. She defends herself with sword and dark mana, forcing Kyufa to retreat. He realizes that the girl has the power to absorb enemy mana, something that Minia cannot imitate. He kneels and asks her name. The girl introduces herself as Mew, daughter of one of the 3 great noble families and bearer of the Diabolos class. Kufa apologizes and runs away. Mew is saddened, but relieved that her belongings are intact. Kufa runs back to the glass castle, realizing that he made a mistake and that Minia must be near Melita, and he is right. Minia had disguised herself as Nerva, and Melita realizes this when she notices that her mana is different. Minia reveals her identity and uses her ability to cause a giant explosion that begins to destroy the castle. Melita and Ale try to escape, but Minia attacks them from behind. Melita steps in front of her sister to protect her. Even though she is weaker, Minia presses and overpowers Melita, who begins to crumble. She says goodbye, but the Glass Guardians identify her as an intruder and try to stop the attack. She destroys their weapons and jumps in for the final blow, but Kufa arrives in time and saves the girls. Rose appears soon after, but Kufa does not need help. He pushes Minia out and disarms her. Kufa cuts Minia's cloak and discovers that she is a short girl with androgynous features. She is embarrassed by her defeat and claims that she cannot return to the guild like this. But Kufa shows generosity and gives her a supplementary report so that the guild head can judge the situation based on it. Later, the school leader bee is crowned as Moon Maiden and Nerva is found unconscious in the forest. The incident with Minia is officially ignored, but Kufa begins to suspect the head governess, who has no mana and therefore could not have entered the glass castle. It was Stukol who helped change the names on the monument. Meanwhile, Mew talks to Sarah, one of the cadets at B Academy, about the tournament. Mew boasts that she carries a mana analyzer in her bag that has recorded the data of all the girls present. She intends to analyze Melita's mana and present it to Sarah's older brother, the head of the Skixel ducal family, hoping to attract his attention. Later, Melita talks to Eli and tells her that she is forming a new unit where she will be the leader. She invites her sister to join the group, and Eli happily accepts the invitation. The 2 sisters embrace. Elsewhere, Minia is sent back to the academy by her superior, who assigns her as an instructor to observe Kufa and Melita's inner workings, which clearly leaves her dissatisfied. One day, Melita wakes up to find her tutor holding a wooden sword over her face. She greets him, and he compliments her on her growing awareness even in her sleep. She is not happy to learn that he has been trying to train her while she is asleep, but Kufa tells her to get ready, as the school trip is about to begin. As they walk, Melita continues to berate Kufa for invading her personal space. Suddenly, one of Kufa's superiors passes by and hands him a bottle of medicine, asking him to use it carefully. Kufa is surprised, but Eli and Rose soon join the group. Rose is uneasy and asks Kufa to marry her. The girls are surprised by Rose's desperation, who explains that her father chose a groom for her, but she refused, using the excuse that she already had a boyfriend. Since she had no other option, Kufa was chosen to play the role, and he agrees to help her, much to Melita's dismay. As they walk to school, Rose clings to Kufa and calls him affectionate nicknames, which makes Melita so jealous that she clings to him as well. At that moment, the principal appears and reprimands the 3 of them for their behavior, criticizing Melita and Rose, but praising Eli for his exemplary behavior. Melita responds harshly when a carriage stops in front of them, and an eccentric man gets out of it. This man is Rose's adoptive father, known for his extravagant behavior. They enter the academy, and Rose and Kufa explain to the girls that the district they are about to visit belongs to Blossom, a genetic engineering expert. Blossom turns to Rose and says that she intends to hold her wedding during the trip. Rose firmly denies it, introducing Kufa as her boyfriend and saying that she does not intend to marry anyone. Blossom threatens to react, but when she looks into Kufa's eyes, she senses something strange and backs off. He says that he has seen that face before in an old case of mass murder committed by a 12-year-old boy whose face was identical to Kufa's. Everyone is uncomfortable with the story, but the principal tells them that they are late and asks them to move on. As the others follow the principal, Kufa tells Melita that he will stay in his room because he is not feeling well. Melita asks if he was bothered by what he heard, but he replies that he only cares about her opinion. He walks away, and Melita senses that something strange is happening. She can't concentrate on the assembly and decides to go after him, but comes across Minia, now acting as a teacher under a false identity. Minia stops Melita from continuing, asking her to return to the assembly. As she approaches, Melita has a flash of memory of a man cursing the king of the infernal blue ice. Melita realizes that the teacher didn't hear the voices and then hears a scream coming from the assembly. They rush there and find a student passed out for no apparent reason. Kufa also arrives. Blossom takes control of the situation and presents one of his inventions. He reveals a test tube with a potion that reacts to the slightest presence of mana. Blossom pours the contents over the assembly's fire, and a blue mist spreads across the place before returning to the flame, now tinged blue. He analyzes the phenomenon and states that the person responsible for the incident is a man in his 20s. Everyone looks at Kufa, who admits that he has no way of proving his innocence at that moment. The tour continues and Kufa is allowed to accompany the group. Melita remains worried, certain that her guardian had no involvement in the incident. The train passes through a dark region with permanent auroras and sporadic thunder. Blossom comments that this is typical of her region. They arrive at the underground city of Shangarda, full of vegetation thanks to Blossom's research. As he explains the plants, Melita watches Kufa intently. Suddenly, she hears the man's voice again and identifies a stone as the possible source of the sound. When she goes to touch it, Kufa stops her. Blossom also leads them away from the place, saying that they are in a mysterious area that defies logic. Farji had concluded that this place produces a strong magnetic field, causing unexplained phenomena. A man runs up and warns Blossom of a new case of illness in the city. They go to the square and find a man transformed into a mindless creature. Blossom orders the soldiers to eliminate him immediately. The girls are horrified by the execution, but Blossom claims that it was an act of mercy, as there is no cure. Later, Rose takes Kufa to a church and asks why he agreed to help her. He seems distant, but is interrupted by several children running towards Rose. She explains that they all lost their parents and were adopted by their father, just like her. Kufa returns to the inn and finds Melita irritated. She demands that he help her put on her socks, saying that he doesn't even see her as a girl. Kufa, having had enough of her teasing, asks her if she would like to go out with him. Melita immediately changes her attitude and accompanies him on a tour of the city's tunnels. They arrive at a lit-up lake surrounded by unique rock formations. Melita admires the scenery and Kufa guides her to the most impressive part of the cave. They jump off a cliff and, instead of falling, they start floating. They spin and dance in zero gravity. Kufa explains that the area has strong magnetism, which causes this effect. Melita is concerned and asks how he knows so much about the place, and he says that he was there on a mission in the past. They return to the lodging, and Kufa tucks her in before going to sleep. She asks to go out again and apologizes for being demanding. Melita says that she doesn't want other people to get close to him. As she falls asleep talking, Kufa caresses her face and confesses to himself that she was the first person to awaken feelings in him, and that is why he still does not know what to do. During the night, Melita dreams that she is in a dark place. She calls for her guardian, but hears a voice asking for blood. She wakes up scared and feels something strange on her neck. Eli rushes into the room and announces that there has been another attack. Melita realizes that Kufa is not in the room and rushes with the other girls to the church. There, they find Blossom crying over the children from the orphanage, who have also been attacked. The headmistress examines the victims and states that their life energy has been drained, as happened to the previous student. She asks Melita where her guardian is, and Melita replies that he has been missing since morning. Blossom is convinced that Kufa is the culprit and orders them to find him. The headmistress takes the girls back, but Melita runs off to look for her guardian. On the way, she is intercepted by Minia, who suspects that Melita is trying to defend Kufa. Even though she thinks this is a foolish idea, Minia decides to help her. The two go to the room, where Minia begins to put on her combat gear and warns Melita to look for the mysterious spots. Kufa had warned Minia about the increase in these spots in recent years and asked her to look after Melita in case anything happened. Minia changes into a school uniform, and when a maid asks why they skipped class, the two pretend to be a couple on a date. The maid laughs, remembers her youth, and gives them chocolate. After that, the girls go out to gather information. Melita is too direct and gets scolded along with a candy. Minia takes the lead and takes them to a flower shop. There, she gains the trust of the saleswoman by speaking highly of Blossom. and her role in the discovery of the mysterious spots. With that, she gets all the information they need. They head to the most enigmatic destination of all, called Cricket House. Despite Blossom's prohibition, they enter the place and realize that nothing seems out of the ordinary. Minia examines the building and realizes that it was built that way on purpose, not the result of an accident. She finds a secret door that leads to an underground staircase. Minia warns that anything can happen down there and asks Melita to stay close. As they descend, she comments that the place seems to have been built to keep visitors away, indicating that something dark is hidden. The two find an underground dungeon. After passing through empty laboratories and cages, they suddenly come across a terrifying scene where they find lifeless bodies chained inside the cells. Medea claims that those people look like citizens of Shangarda and that, in addition, they are the failures resulting from the legal experiments with the night gene factor, which turns them into lycanthropes. Melita is horrified, and then Medea points to the arm of one of the bodies, where there is an accessory identical to the one used by the man they saw die. Medea believes that Blossom is responsible for everything, someone who spreads lies about mysterious points and diseases just to be able to kidnap more people for his experiments. Suddenly, Melita hears the voice of the hooded man again, asking her to kill someone and spill blood. She feels a strong headache and believes that another person is about to die. She runs outside, trying to understand how he can know where the next attack will happen. She goes to the place and hears people saying that a student has been killed. Upon entering, Melita finds Ile unconscious on the floor, and Blossom holds Rose in her arms, crying and saying that she is dead. Melita is in shock, and not even the director can say anything else. She informs him that Melita did not attend the training and that Eli was worried and went out to look for her. Rose accompanied her student, and the two were attacked by someone very powerful. The man chosen by Blossom as her son-in-law accuses Kufa and orders the villagers to find him immediately. Blossom gets up with Rose's body and says that she can save her with the power of science. Melita, speechless, carries Eli back to the room. Minia goes to the room and comments that there are not many people in the world who could defeat a paladin like Eli and a seasoned warrior like Rose at the same time. Melita asks for a moment alone with her sister, and Minia replies that she can take as long as she wants, as she will not leave the room until everything calms down. After Minia leaves, Melita apologizes to Eli, believing that she was only attacked because she went out to look for her. Melita tries to understand what her sister wanted to tell her before all this and takes her sword, swearing to protect her. At that moment, Melita hears screams outside, and Krista rushes into the room, urging her to run away. Krista tells her that Blossom was attacked and that the attacker stole Rose's body before fleeing. The same blue flamed mana was found at the scene, and now the entire town is after Kufa. The academy is powerless to defend him. The townspeople want to capture Melita to use her as a hostage. Krista locks the door and tells Melita to escape. Melita jumps out the window, apologizing to everyone who got involved because of her. She is determined to find out the truth, avenge Eli and Rose, and prove Kufa's innocence. She goes to the rock where she heard the strange voice earlier and remembers how both Blossom and Kufa tried to keep her away. Convinced that something is hidden, she uses her mana and destroys the rock. A secret tunnel reveals itself. Melita enters and follows a small stream until she finds a human skeleton trapped in a spider's web. She crawls under the body and continues until she reaches a hiding place with a secret study room. Melita finds documents with Blossom's signature and also some old scrolls and books. The texts talk about the nocturnal gene factor, its extraction from lycanthropes, and its attempt to transplant it into humans. She discovers that Blossom has been doing this for a long time and that she made a serious mistake in an experiment conducted 7 years ago. Suddenly, Melita hears the hooded man's voice again, and he realizes that someone has entered his house. He asks who she is. Melita draws her sword and introduces herself as a paladin, demanding to know who he is and where he is hiding. He laughs at this and says that she will make a great test subject. Melita observes the surroundings cautiously and suddenly sees Rose, alive, but with a different hair color. Melita calls out to her, but makes a mistake, as Rose awakens a blue flame in one of her eyes and walks towards her asking for blood. Rose acts like a thirsty vampire and slowly approaches. Melita observes the mana of the blue flame and asks if Rose is to blame for everything. She trips over a table, which gives Rose time to close the distance. Rose follows the orders of the hooded voice, who asks her to feed on the blood of Kufa's disciple. Just as Rose attacks, Kufa appears and saves Melita. He tries to bring Rose to her senses, and the hooded man calls him the Ice King, using taunting words to insult him. Kufa doesn't care. His true form is revealed, and he struggles to restrain Rose. He tells her that she no longer belongs in the darkness and must use her human memories to maintain control. Even so, the words do not reach her, and Rose flees. The man tells Kufa that Rose has spent 7 years thirsty and is now at the mercy of her instincts, about to become his servant. Kufa is saddened, while Melita watches in fear at his somber appearance. Kufa approaches Melita and holds her down. He says that he will use his power to seal her memories of him deep in her heart, where they will never be accessed again. Kufa claims that she will not feel pain, but that at the end of the process she will see him as a stranger. Melita protests that she does not want to forget him, but Kufa insists, saying that he will continue to be her guardian, even if she forgets him. He confesses that no one has ever accepted him in this form, and that he fears the look Melita has now. He apologizes, admitting that sealing her memories is a selfish act. Melita stands up and repeats the same words he once said to her. She promises to stay by his side, even if the world says otherwise. She hugs him tightly, telling him that every part of him is beautiful. Melita suddenly kisses him and declares that she truly loves him. Kufa, nervous, says that they are different. He is a half-lycanthrope, her natural enemy. Kufa tells his origin story, which began in that city 8 years ago. A fire destroyed the church orphanage where he lived. Blossom was involved in illegal experiments using the Mike gene. In the midst of the tragedy, a giant spider forced Blossom to continue with the experiments, even when he wanted to give up. During the argument, Kufa, who had died, was resurrected with shining white hair. The spider was surprised to see a half-vampire living in a church. Kufa then saw Rose, also an orphan, injured. To save her, he drank her blood and turned her into a vampire. The spider asked if he wanted to turn her into a monster. At that moment, warriors from the White Knight Guild arrived and attacked the spider. It was stronger and killed 2 men, injuring the leader. When the spider tried to turn the leader into a guinea pig, Kufa attacked its head and gouged out its eyes. The man took the opportunity to shoot the creature several times and then fired a special bullet that destroyed the spider's body. The soldiers saw Kufa next to Rose and asked what he intended. Kufa replied that he would seal Rose's memories of him and of being a vampire so that she would not feel thirsty for blood. He asked them to let Rose live and promised that she would not harm anyone. In exchange, he offered himself as her subordinate. The man asked if he was okay with her forgetting him. Kufa cried and said that he would be satisfied if she was happy. Rose woke up and called him brother one last time. Kufa comforted her as he sealed her memories. After finishing the story, with Melita sitting on his lap, Kufa says that no place is safe for Rose right now. If she is captured, both he and she will be executed. He asks Melita to promise not to tell anyone. He says that if she breaks her promise, he will suck all of her blood. Melita, blushing, promises to keep the secret. Kufa reveals that the spider from the Lankan orphanage survived and is behind the recent attacks. He suspects that Blossom is still involved and wants to use Rose as a weapon, forcing her to have children with mana users. Kufa says that he needs to hide his true identity to avoid being persecuted. Melita is outraged by this and Kufa says he has a plan, but he needs her help. He asks if she is willing to risk her life, and Melita replies that he can take her life and her purity as a bonus. Soon after, Rose fully recovers and is forced to marry a stranger, still not fully conscious. As Blossom is about to officiate the wedding, Melita bursts into the church and objects. She shouts to Rose that they are both rivals in love for Kufa, and that she will not allow her to give up. Rose does not remember who Kufa is, and the attempt to remember leaves her confused. Melita taunts her, saying that she has already kissed her tutor twice. Melita's words awaken Rose. She grabs her weapons and declares that she will settle everything with Melita. They both activate their mana and say that they will prove with force who loves Kufa more. Rose attacks first and Melita responds with a flaming blow, which misses its target but hits Blossom. A small spider jumps out of his hair and Melita points her sword, saying that if he does not react, he will be defeated. The spider releases a mist and takes on human form. It says that Melita no longer stands a chance, but Melita is not intimidated. She states in front of everyone that he is the Lankan responsible for all the attacks. The Lankan introduces himself as Nakwa and claims that he underestimated Melita. When everyone tries to confront him, Nakwa repels them with a wind attack and escapes through a secret door. Rose runs after him and mentally curses him as she remembers everything she was forced to do. She attacked a student at the academy, attacked the orphans at the church, and even attacked her own pup, Eli. However, when she tried to suck Eli's blood, her teacher's instincts took over, and Rose resisted. Even though Nakwa insisted that she give in, Nakwa did not like her resistance and tried to kill her, but Rose managed to survive. Rose catches up to Nakwa and confronts him, asking if he was also responsible for the disaster that happened in her childhood. He suddenly appears and grabs her by the neck, telling her that she is now even more dangerous because she has recovered her memories. He chokes her, and although she screams loudly, she soon begins to lose strength. At that moment, Kufa appears and kicks him away, telling Nakwa to stay away from his sister. Kufa asks Rose to awaken, and the vampire powers hidden within her are activated. Kufa claims that the two of them will defeat Nakwa, but the enemy is confident. Nakwa says that he belongs to the Araxans, one of the dominant castes of darkness, and that he will never be defeated. He assumes his true form, and Kufa tries to cut him with a quick jump, but the blow does not penetrate the armor. Rose then supports him with her discs and performs a series of attacks to distract him. Rose's attacks break a rock, scattering debris towards Nakwa, but he uses his webs to contain the pieces and retaliate against the two half-vampires. Kufa and Rose dodge. Rose positions herself underneath and throws Nakwa high into the air with a precise attack. He is thrown into the zero-gravity zone, where his body is trapped in the air. Kufa takes advantage of this, leaps with precision and delivers a fully charged punch, impaling Nakwa's body on a sharp rock. Lightning strikes the spot, finishing the blow. Even so, Nakwa survives by dispersing his body into millions of tiny parts. He escapes through a crack in the ground, and Rose fears that he will return one day. Kufa assures her that this will not happen. Nakwa tries to escape through an underground tunnel that leads to the church, but Melita and the other girls are already waiting for him. The girls eliminate the spiders with their attacks, and Nakwa screams for them to stop. Outside, Rose hugs Kufa, saying that she remembers everything she had forgotten. Kufa seems shaken and almost reaches for the medicine bottle in his pocket, but changes his mind. He turns to Rose and, with a light touch to her wounds, paralyzes her. He says that he will seal her memories once more, because only then will she be able to continue living in society. Kufa uses his power to seal Rose's memories, who cries and says that she does not want to forget because she wants to continue by her older brother's side. Kufa promises that he will always be there, taking care of her. With that, Rose loses her memories of him once again. Meanwhile, Blossom is in her secluded room, crying in front of the body of a woman. Kufa appears and deduces that this is Blossom's wife, whose body is turning into a Lankan after Nakwa's disappearance. Kufa believes that saving his wife was the reason why Blossom made a deal with Nakwa. Blossom starts to cry and says that she had no choice. Kufa remembers his childhood and says that he and his mother were persecuted in this city and were destined to die as beggars. At that time, Blossom took them in and stayed by Kufa's mother's side until the very end. Blossom says that she only did it on impulse, but Kufa takes a bottle from his pocket and says that inside it there is a medicine capable of turning a partial Lankan into a normal human. Kufa says that it is in gratitude for what Blossom did for him and pours the liquid into the woman's mouth. Blossom's wife begins to recover and returns to her human appearance. Blossom hugs her emotionally and Kufa says goodbye, calling him his adoptive father for the last time. After that, the students return to the academy saying that Blossom turned herself in to the authorities and took full responsibility for the recent events. Eli regains consciousness and wants to know what happened while she was unconscious. Melita refuses to tell anything, and Eli threatens to tickle her until he finds out the truth. Meanwhile, Kufa is alone, reflecting on everything that happened. Rose sits across from him trying to understand why she doesn't remember anything about the city. He asks if she shouldn't have stayed in her hometown to help her family, but Rose says that her mother will handle anything. Rose says that she's always had a dream since she was a child. She wanted to meet an important person who spent a lot of time with her, but whom she couldn't remember. That's why she joined the Crest Legion Guild and became famous, hoping that this person would find her. As she talks happily, Melita approaches and sits next to Kufa, telling Rose to keep her distance now that the fake relationship is over. Rose is uncomfortable with this, and Melita teases her by saying that she's already kissed Kufa twice. Kufa spends the rest of the time listening to the two argue. Soon classes resume, and the teacher asks the students what they know about the 7 basic classes and their advantages and disadvantages. Melita tries to impress the teacher by reciting everything as if she had read an encyclopedia, while Kufa watches her from afar and thinks that she has grown a lot. Despite this, he knows that many people are bothered by the sudden success of a girl considered a failure. The headmistress announces that before the end of the year, a final event called the Vidria Goat exam will take place. Melita and Ellie are confused about what the Vidria Goat is, and Kufa explains that it is a huge labyrinth beneath the city that contains the largest library in human history. The exam is difficult and dangerous, but those who complete it receive a librarian's license and can explore the forgotten records of humanity. Only second-year students and above are eligible to apply, so Melita and Ellie would theoretically be ineligible. However, the headmistress appears and asks if the two would like to take the exam this year. Kufa says that they are still first years, but the headmistress replies that since they were chosen as Luna candidates, they must prove that it was not a mistake. Meanwhile, Mew and Sarah deliver a report on the Luna tournament to the Academy and the noble faction they represent. Mew claims that Melita's mana was very different from Elise, which convinces the faction members that Melita's mother had an affair with another man. They conclude that Melita is not the legitimate daughter of the Angel family. Sarah's brother suggests releasing this information to the entire noble society. Everyone agrees immediately, but the pink-haired man proposes that they find a way to convince the people. Mew claims he has a solution and shows an ancient book called the Anders Codex, found in Vidria Goat. She says they can use the book to expose Melita's dubious origins, and the man approves of the idea. He declares that with this document, they will overthrow the Angel House and lead a revolution. As everyone leaves, Sarah expresses concern for Melita, but her brother claims he is doing this for her own good. He says that many strange things surround Melita, and they need to spare her from further suffering. Sarah believes everything she hears, even though she does not fully understand it. The pink-haired man gives her a special pen, used by a former librarian of Vidria Goat, and hopes it will give her courage. At the academy the next day, Melita and Kufa are met with a commotion upon entering. A masked man introduces himself before the headmistress and claims not to be suspicious. He says he is only there to see his daughter. He looks around, sees Melita, and runs towards her, calling her his daughter. Melita is confused as everyone whispers about her family. The man says that the Angel family stole his wife and daughter. As he approaches, Kufa draws his sword to fend him off. The masked man reveals himself to be a circus acrobat, performs pirouettes and escapes, saying that his daughter's boyfriend is too aggressive. He throws his hat and disappears, leaving Melita distraught. That night, Kufa receives a coded message saying that Melita is in danger. He responds asking for help and goes to her room for a routine checkup. Being distracted causes him to make a mistake. Melita asks if he is worried about what happened in the morning. Kufa says that he has always been afraid that rumors will spread if they find out who the man behind her sister is. He believes that the masked man only wanted to tarnish the image of the Angel family, and Melita agrees that he has no connection to her mother. Kufa says that the enemies will still try other things, and Melita asks if she can do anything about it. Kufa decides to test her and asks her to take the Vidria Goat exam seriously. Melita is nervous because the exam is dangerous, but Kufa says that if she passes, she will show everyone that she is ready to take on the world. Melita asks what will happen if she fails, and Kufa answers with insinuations that make her feel uncomfortable. She asks for a special prize if she passes. Kufa promises that he will grant her any wish if she passes. On the day of the exam, The girls follow the principal to the library gates. Ile joins Melita, and the two are determined to succeed. Kissa advises them not to overdo it. They climb onto the magic platform, and Kufa tells Melita that she will wait for good news. The principal activates the elevator, which begins to descend slowly. Melita holds the teacher's hand until the last moment, before the doors close. During the descent, the principal explains that each student must go to their assigned level and complete the mission within the time limit. She also warns that the ghosts of former librarians haunt the place and attack anyone who tries to steal books. She warns that the most dangerous ghosts are on the lower floors. At that moment, the elevator suddenly stops, even without having reached the first level. Tentacles emerge from the walls and break the elevator, attacking the girls. Melita clings to Eli in despair. Outside, Kufa and Rose are on standby when a nun arrives, terrified to learn that the principal has left. She says that an important visitor has arrived and that Kufa must receive him. When he asks who it is, the answer shocks him. The visitor is Felgus Angel, Melita's official father. Kufa goes to meet Felgus and tells him that Melita and Eli are taking the library's certification exam. Felgus says that Melita does not need to participate and gives her a letter to withdraw her from the school. He orders Kufa to bring her back immediately. Kufa tells him to stop and asks why he is blocking her path. Felgus mentions the incident with the masked man and says that exposing Melita to the public will bring harm to the family. He informs him that Kufa will also be removed from his position. Kufa begs for one more year to prove the results. Felgus says that, as much as Kufa sees potential in Melita, she herself does not believe it yet. Kufa insists that she knows her student better than anyone and asks for one last chance. Felgus seems to be having second thoughts. At that moment, another nun enters the room with a letter sealed with a serpent seal and informs her that it has been delivered to the headmistress's office. Felgus recognizes the seal as belonging to the Grimfus Guild and opens the letter immediately. On the back of the letter is a cryptic haiku that suggests that the girls who entered the library are in danger of losing their lives. Inside the library, the tentacles kidnap only Melita and Eli, separating them from the rest of the group and taking them to an unknown floor. The two are worried about both the other students and their location, but Eli realizes that the enchanted glass has started to glow, which means that the exam has begun. The girls decide to go ahead with the mission, even without knowing which floor they are on. Melita remembers that they should be on the 5th level, which is not as dangerous. However, two ghosts of former librarians appear and attack. Melita and Eli activate their mana and position themselves for battle. The ghosts advance with incessant attacks, forcing the girls to focus only on blocking and dodging. After a while, Melita begins her counterattack, pushing the ghost against a bookshelf and slashing it with her sword. The thirst for combat awakens within her, and she begins to enjoy herself. She begins to imitate the movements that Kufa would use in that situation and realizes that she has learned every detail of his fighting style. Melita defeats the ghost completely. Meanwhile, Eli also defeats her opponent. The two celebrate by touching hands and gain confidence that they can complete the exam even without the headmistress's help. Eli notices that their weapons are damaged after just one fight and comments that they may not be able to deal with more than 2 ghosts at once. As if fate heard her, new ghosts appear from all sides and surround them. The number is clearly greater than 4. When all seems lost, a hurricane engulfs the environment and eliminates all the ghosts at once. Melita tries to understand what happened, and when she looks up, she sees help arriving. Mew and Sarah appear, pretending to have come to save the two. Mew claims that she is also participating in the library certification exam and suggests that the 4 of them take the test together. Melita comments that this may not be allowed, but Mew replies that there is no one watching, so it is fine. Mew quickly convinces Sarah and announces that the 4 heiresses of the 3 great ducal houses will take their first mission together. Melita and Ili are excited about the idea. Mew takes a magic book that works like a map out of her bag and tells them that they are on the 2nd level. According to the book, they must go up to the 5th floor, where the real test takes place. Melita is surprised by the existence of magical texts that work inside the library. Mew explains that these books have limited use and that they exist precisely to confuse intruders. Mew hands one of these books to Melita, who realizes that the content is written in a strange language. Mew explains that without a librarian's license, they cannot read. Sarah praises Mew for her knowledge knowledge and says that her family is made up of researchers and librarians. Ile comments that it is not fair that Mew knows everything even though it is her first time in that place. Mew feels the pressure of everyone's gaze and changes the subject. She says that the magical text can be activated with the keyword "once upon a time." Mew asks Melita to say the word. As she does so, a mist envelops the group and they all transform. Melita starts wearing a magical dress similar to Cinderella's. Mew explains that they have received the blessing of fairy tales. Melita now has divine protection. Eli represents Little Red Riding Hood and has received the ferocity of the big bad wolf. Mew claims to represent Aladdin and has access to the genie's magic 3 times. Sarah has finally been transformed into the Little Mermaid. The other 3 make fun of her for being the only one with noticeable curves until the book's magic wears off. Ile reminds them that they need to hurry before the exam time runs out. They run to the test room and find a book floating in the center of the room that asks them if they want to continue. When they confirm, they are given the task of repairing and rearranging the books in that room. The pile of books is enormous, but that is not the only challenge. A magical book-eating imp emerges from the pile, and they must defeat it to complete the mission. Melita immediately attacks the first imp and restores the book, but soon discovers that there are many more hidden away. They all appear at the same time. Melita asks the others to organize the books while she fights the creatures. Even the seemingly simple task proves difficult. As the books resist being placed on the shelves, Eli manages to position one of the books, and Mew discovers upon examining it that it is a puzzle. Mew asks Melita to hold off the imps while she solves the puzzle. Melita hunts the imps while Mew orders Eli and Sarah to rearrange the books. After solving the puzzle, Mew throws the final book to Melita. Sarah propels Melita into the air, and Ellie stops the imps from getting in her way. Melita snaps the last book into place, and the remaining imps implode. She falls, but Sarah catches her with her flight magic. The 4 celebrate their victory. 4 books begin to glow and transform into certificates of passing the exam. They just need to return to the outside world in time. Mew asks Melita and Ellie why they want to pass this test so badly. Melita thinks and answers that she wants to be recognized as a daughter of the angel family, and also approved by the professor who believes in her. Mew says that passing this test does not prove that she is a legitimate daughter of the angel house. Melita remains silent, but Ellie defends her. Mew apologizes for the comment and changes the subject. Soon after, Mew invites the group to leave, but Sarah steals Melita's book and refuses to give it back. Mew pins her against the wall and demands the book back, but Sarah claims that the exam was a trap from the beginning. Meanwhile, the senior students finish their exams and meet with the principal. The principal informs them that the tentacles that destroyed the elevator were summoned by an ancient magical text. She promises to investigate once they return to the academy. Krista worries about the freshmen, but the principal says they need to return to the school to get reinforcements. At that moment, 2 hooded men appear and claim that no one will leave that place alive. The principal suspects that they are responsible for the attack and, together with Krista, sets out to confront them. However, the 2 are just zombie puppets, and the real controller appears soon after. An old man with the appearance of a sorcerer introduces himself as an apostle of the Grimfus Guild, an artificial Lankin and necromancer. The principal asks why he is attacking the students. He replies that dead men tell no tales. He summons more servants who attack the girls. The principal tries to protect them, but is stabbed in the back. She falls to her knees and promises to protect her students until the end. The necromancer grants this wish by ordering the zombies to attack, but Kufa arrives in time and saves the day. Kufa cuts down all the enemies with his sword. When the necromancer summons even more, they all meet the same fate. Kufa defeats the necromancer, and the remaining zombies lose their strength. The principal faints, and 2 girls apologize for having read the magical text that gave rise to the tentacles. They say they were following their parents' orders and did not know this would happen, but the danger is not over yet. The necromancer is reborn as an undead named Jigichin. Jigichin. He orders his servants to help him, and Kyufa prepares to fight again. He supports the principal as the others run towards the elevator, but Jigichin appears and summons the ghosts of the library to attack them. Kyufa tries to fight them, but discovers that he cannot touch them in his human form. He considers releasing his vampire power, but hesitates. Revealing this secret could separate him from Melita. Help arrives at the right time. A cage made of bandages protects the students. The mummy, now Kyufa's ally, appears and holds Jigichin to contain his powers. The undead tries to resist, but the mummy breaks his bones and reduces them to dust. Kyufa thanks him. The mummy says that he needs Kyufa to stay alive so that they can complete their plans. The girls still show fear when they sense that he is a lycanthrope, but Krista thanks him for saving their lives. The mummy is embarrassed, as he has never received a compliment in his life, and warns Kyufa that the danger is not over yet. The letter sent to the headmistress was just a pretext to remove Kyufa from the academy. The Yul Grimfist Guild is planning to attack the school and eliminate all the students who heard the masked man pretending to be Melita's father. Kyufa believes that they will not succeed, as he left his reserve team at the academy and trusts that the invaders have already been neutralized. At that moment, Kyufa's boss arrives and asks the mummy if he would like to join the guild. The mummy refuses and says that he is only interested in exchanging information. In exchange for the method to transform a Lankan into a human, he promises to act as a spy and report on criminal activity. The boss accepts the deal. The mummy then tells Kyufa that he has received information about an unauthorized break-in at the library and that one of the three great families, the Skixel, is involved. He tasks Kyufa with investigating and sends him racing to find Melita, fearing that she is in danger. On the lower floors, Melita asks Sarah what she meant by the exam being a trap. Imai examines the book and discovers that they passed the 5th level test instead of the 6th. The girls realize that Mew and Sarah tricked them and want to know why. As the ghosts in the library disappear, Mew takes the opportunity to take the book from Sarah's hands. She smiles when she discovers that Melita's class is not paladin, but samurai. Mew runs away saying that this information needs to be given to the pink-haired man. Sarah uses her flight magic to help Melita catch up with her. Melita finally catches up with Mew, knocks her to the ground and demands to know why she betrayed her. Even though she pretended to be her friend, Mew caresses Melita's face and responds that she did all that because she likes her. Then Mew pronounces the keyword and activates the power of all the magical texts around her. The pages begin to spin in the air, surrounding the two, and Sarah screams for Melita to move away, but it is too late. An intense purple light envelops them, and Melita momentarily loses her vision. Within the light, she begins to dream. In this dream, Melita remembers the people who rejected her as a pupil because they thought she was talentless, and how Kyufa was the first to accept her as a student. When the dream ends, Melita finds herself in a place covered in mist and realizes that she is wearing a maid's outfit. Mew greets her and informs her that she is in an illusory courtroom and must behave herself, as the real trial is about to begin. The mist dissipates and Melita realizes that she is in a courtroom with a masked audience. The judge is Paintman. The session begins, and Melita still does not understand what is happening. Mew reveals that Paintman is the judge and also the one responsible for this entire plan. She claims that she acted under his command when leading Melita and the others into this trap. Melita understands the situation and refuses to participate in the play, stating that she needs to complete her library exam. Paintman tells her that she cannot leave and calls her the fake daughter of the Angel family. He orders Mew to activate the Amber Codex, a book that begins recording every word spoken from that point on. Paintman opens the session by accusing Melita of deceiving the country for 13 years by pretending to be the legitimate daughter of the Angel family. He claims that a man has appeared claiming to be her real father and uses the fact that Melita holds the samurai class as proof that her lineage is dubious. Melita responds by saying that there are cases where even legitimate children of noble families are not granted high-ranking classes. Paintman counters by asking why her mana only awakened at the age of 13. Melita hesitates and the audience turns against her. People claim that Melita's mother betrayed Felgus because he was always busy with his work. Melita can't stand hearing it anymore and yells at everyone to shut up. She claims that she clearly remembers the love between her mother and father and declares that she will join the Crest Legion to prove her worth as a daughter of the Angel family. Paintman says that she will have to prove it right there and orders Sarah Sarah to attack her. Under mind control, Sarah attacks Melita, who tries to make her stop. Melita dodges the blows and Illy throws his sword to help her. When Melita and Sarah face each other, Mew stops Eli from interfering. Sarah tells Melita to stop resisting and promises that she will end this without pain. But Melita states that her samurai class should not be underestimated. She pressures Sarah, who uses her flying ability to take advantage of the air and starts throwing spears at Melita. Melita keeps moving to avoid the attacks. Mew comments that Melita doesn't stand a chance against Sarah's dragon class, and that if she is defeated there, everyone will believe that she doesn't deserve the name of the angel family. Eli remembers when Melita said that Mew was kind and beautiful, and now he is angry to see that it was a lie. Eli decides to protect Melita from false friends like Mew. Meanwhile, Melita continues to try to reach Sarah in the air. Many believe that Sarah is winning, but Paintman watches with concern and wonders how Melita is holding on for so long. Suddenly, Melita stumbles and Sarah takes the opportunity to attack, believing that she will win, but Melita moves out of the way at the last moment and destroys Sarah's flying wings. Everyone is shocked by the turn of events, and Melita proudly declares that she feels honored to be a samurai. She says that she has someone she looks up to and, by her side, she will prove her worth. The audience begins to believe that Melita is really the Duke's daughter and that they have committed treason by imprisoning her. Seeing their change of heart, Paintman plays his last card. He activates the magic pen he had given to his sister. The pen falls from Sarah's pocket. A drop of ink hits the ground and turns into a black hole. The ink takes the form of a dragon and launches a fireball at Melita, but Sarah, regaining consciousness, saves her. Melita explains that this is the power of an alternative magic pen capable of reversing the effects of magical texts. The black hole grows and swallows part of the audience, while the others flee. Melita decides she can no longer stand by and wants to defeat the ink dragon. Sarah tries to stop her, but Miyu and Alei arrive to help. The three join forces. First, they help the audience escape. The last survivor to leave is Alai's housekeeper. Melita recognizes her, but lets her go, along with the other conspirators. As they try to leave, the doors close, and the masked man appears in the center of the garden. He turns the place into a cage with his powers and announces that the time for the final event has come. Ili tries to attack him to avenge his sister, but he throws black ink over his sword, which begins to disintegrate. He knocks it away with one blow and tries to attack Melita. At that moment, Kufa appears and cuts the attack, turning the ink into water. Melita is relieved to see him, and Kufa promises that he will now truly protect her. But Melita decides to fight alongside him, not just watch him. The two advance against the masked man. While Kufa distracts him, Melita positions herself behind him and tries to surprise him. He dodges, but Kufa and Melita match their moves perfectly. Kufa kicks him high into the air, and Melita propels him even further with the hilt of her sword, remembering her training with Kufa. Finally, Kufa uses his ultimate technique, 1,000 Blades, and surrounds the enemy with spectral blades, destroying both the masked man and the magical cage. Melita runs to hug Kufa, thrilled by her victory. The other girls watch and say that the two need privacy. Soon, everyone returns to the real world, and their routines return to normal. Pinkman hides his involvement in the kidnappings and the attack, placing all the blame on the masked man, whom he himself killed. The masked man was a former member of the Crest Legion, and his search continues. Felgus takes over the Academy's security. Shortly after, the day of his departure arrives. Melita runs to him, gathering the courage to speak. Felgus approaches and tells her that in his grandmother's time, a relative also held the samurai class, so she need not worry. He compliments her golden hair and says that she looks like her mother, which makes Melita cry. As she sobs, Felgus leaves and entrusts his daughter to Kufa's care. Later, Melita and Kufa meet in the garden where it all began. She tells him that she has chosen her prize for passing the exam. She asks Kufa to stay by her side until she is recognized by society. When that day comes, she promises to risk her life to protect him in return. Kufa, touched by her promise, kisses her hand and promises that he will never leave her alone.